This is Berkeley CMA video series. We are going to discuss Unit 6 of CMA Part 2. Unit name is Managing Current Assets. So far we are very clear about what are the current assets, and now in today's lecture we will see and we will learn how to use them effectively for increasing the organizational efficiency. Broadly, we are going to discuss the working capital, which is surely current assets less current liabilities, and it shows us how much strong we are in terms of the ability to pay our short-term expenses. Then we will discuss the cash management, what is the minimum level of cash we should have in our business operations, and what is the optimal level, what are different theories we learn when we use how to handle the cash effectively in the business. Then we have marketable securities management. We will discuss what are the marketable securities and how efficiently we can use in order to optimize our operations. Then we have receivable management. We create receivables when we sell on credit. So once the item are sold on credit, receivables will emerge. How to effectively manage in terms of that we should not have the bad debts, the major concern. The other way is how can we improve our operating cycle, means surely we have to take care for the suppliers payments, and this payment what we receive from the customer, this is very important for our day-to-day expenses and for our cash management. So we will learn in this unit how to be effective in terms of our collections and how can efficiently we can plan, manage, execute our receivable plans. Apart from this, we have inventory management. Inventory is a big question for the companies because it creates a huge cost. Then there are certain risks in terms of obsolescence, in terms of we have to save, we have to protect, we have to arrange the cold storage facilities, we have to safeguard the protection, physical protection. So generally which systems we are using, like just-in-time system, and how much investment we have to put in the stock. This is all is require a great care and a big consideration because these will impact the overall operations of the company. So what is the minimum stock, reorder level, and when they have to order again, what is the optimal quantity? This is we are going to discuss in today's lecture. And in the last we are going to discuss the short-term financing available for the companies in order to meet their liquidity issues. First of all, we are going to discuss the working capital. Working capital is the difference of current assets with the current liabilities. We have receivables, we have cash, we have marketable securities, we have receivables of the short-term natures, and we, in comparison that, we have short-term obligations, we have the current portion of the long-term obligations, and this is we have to keep in mind that our assets are more, our liabilities are less. So based on that, first of all, the important thing is to see how to manage the calculation part, how to get the working capital positive. Then there are certain strategies how to use the working capital. Some companies are very aggressive in terms of investing working capital in, they don't want to keep cash with them. They want to put the part of the operations. But opposite to that, we have another nature of or the behavior of the working capital management that is very conservative. They want to keep the cash and the equivalent, and they want to have more working capital with them, and they don't want to take any risk on that one. So it's totally a risk seeker and the risk averse situation, as we have risk in the risk and returns as well. So working capital, we are going to have a firm that adopts a conservative working capital policy, seeks to minimize liquidity risk by increasing working capital. They are risk averse, they don't want a risk, and this is reflected in a higher current ratio, means their current ratio, the assets are more than the current liabilities as a general guidelines, depending upon what should be the ratio. In fact, it depends on certain factor, which region you are, and what is the industry practices, what is your strength level. A lot of factors will determine your ideal ratio, but as a basic principle, your assets must be more than your liabilities. And then we will see our asset test ratio, that is quick asset divided by current liabilities, which will see we will eliminate the effect of slow moving or the inventory from the working capital, and we will see how much actually we have more chances to materialize. So that's why this ratio is more equivalent to the cash and more closer and more accurately expressed in terms of our working capital strategies. The result is that it foregoes the potential higher returns available for using the additional working capital, and they keeps themselves on the defensive part of the working capital. Then we have opposite to this, we have attitude, because policy is always dependent on the management attitude. So if the management is aggressive, they want to have short-term returns by using the working capital. So they go for an aggressive policy. Aggressive policy involves reducing liquidity and accepting a high risk of short-term cash flows, and surely this will create for a company a big stress, could be a big stress for, because if you are consuming more cash flow, so you can be in a position where you can expect the constraint in terms of your cash position. And then always we have to keep a permanent working capital. This is a concept that every company should have. Always maintain a minimum level of current assets. Temporary working capital, however, fluctuates seasonally. We know that this is the requirement of the month, so we keep it a permanent. But sometimes we have a floating one as well, depend upon the company situations. Now, moving ahead for the cash management. Cash is the prime factor, is a very important thing which every management should have effective cash management. Now, what we have to maintain the levels of the cash. What would be the ideal cash? It depends upon the company to company nature of your business and your day-to-day trade experience. But surely there is no question about that. There are three motives for the cash holding. Why people hold cash? One is the transactional motives. We want to have a medium of exchange. We have cash so we can buy and sell. Then we have precautionary motives. We want to, we are ready for the rainy days to come, when we lost a job, when we don't have money. So we have to be very precautionary when the kids will grow up, where the money will be invested and where it will be kept for them. This is all precautionary measures for the cash. And then we have a speculative motive, which is based on short-term desire to get the highest return of the money. So these are the three motives. Now, The goal of the cash management should be to have an optimal cash in the company. Now, what is this optimal word? Is best suitable to your organizational style, structure, your trading practices, and surely we can use the model as we have in inventory the economic order quantity. The same way we have a cash model, economic order. That is the firm optimal level of cash that should be determined by a cost benefit analysis. And how we do it, 2BT divided by I, and we take the square root. What is Q? Q is the optimal cash balance, and then B is the fixed cost per transaction, and then we have total demand for the cash for the period, and interest rates on the marketable securities is I. So based on that formula, we can define one level which is considered to be optimal level. This is for those cases where you expect the flow of the cash is defined, it's predictable, and it's mature. But for those industries where the cash patterns are not defined, not known, and great variation is there, we can have another method. Now, how to forecast the cash flows? The first step is to managing the company cash flow is by a cash budget. Now, what is cash budget? In fact, this is the summary showing the cash receipts and cash payments. Now, we list down the sources from where we can get the cash, and we know the cash disbursement means payments, and in both cases we can, when we subtract from cash inflows with the outflows, we get the deficit or surplus. So this will be a guiding tool for the management to be more efficiently responding to the operations in terms of to meet their operational cash requirements.